Nikola Tesla.
The Electric Sorcerer, Part 3.
On May 1st, the Chicago World's Fair or Columbian Exposition opened.
This auspicious occasion came at a paradoxical time for the country, for on the one hand, the United States had announced that it was the new leader in the creation and deployment of new technology. On the other hand, it was embroiled in the panic of 1893.
Simultaneously, and for one exceptional time, the world at large was experiencing universal peace.
The Columbian Exposition covered almost 700 acres, had 60,000 exhibitors, and cost $25 million. With 28 million attendees, the Chicago Fair boasted a $2.25 million profit, whereas the Paris Exposition of 1889 had the stupendous 984-foot tall Eiffel Tower. The Chicago Fair boasted the Ferris wheel, revolving on the largest one-piece axle ever forged. The wheel stood 264 feet high and had a seating capacity of over 2,000. Every day, hundreds of thousands of visitors from every corner of the globe streamed into Chicago's White City. The chief architect, Chicagoan Daniel Hudson Burnham, along with the other planners, based their design on a city of waterways, much like Venice, with a court of honor centrally placed to house the major palaces, with wooden fardis made to resemble marble. The buildings rivaled even the great stone achievements of the ancient Romans and Greeks. The Manufacturers and Liberal Arts Pavilion, more than twice the size of the others, was by far the largest building in the world.
Nearly a third of a mile long and well over 2 football fields wide, the structure covered 30.5 acres and had a seating capacity of 75,000. Abutting Lake Michigan, at the far end above the Court of Honor, with columns extended like the arms of a mighty conductor, was the magnificent arch and peristyle. Designed by head sculptor Auguste St. Gaudens, this statue depicted a general representing Christopher Columbus, thunderously entering the fair with his mighty team of horses.
Beneath this quadriga was the great gilded 65-foot statue of the Republic, which rose from the main canal like a benevolent behemoth as it blessed not only the Manufacturers' Pavilion but also palaces for agriculture designed by Stanford White, machinery, administration, and electricity. And that was just the Court of Honor.
Running perpendicular to their great quadrangle for nearly a mile was yet another opulently lined moat containing most of the other large-scale pavilions and displays described in one text as a cacophonous confusion of advanced cultures, converted heathens, peculiar tongues, and queer importations.
With a fleet of 50 gondolas driven by brand new electrical engines, visitors could motor to any pavilion they wanted. The Electricity Pavilion, adorned with a dozen elegant minarets, 4 of which rose 169 feet above the hall, was over 2 football fields in length and nearly half that measure in width, covering 3½ acres. This spacious and stately structure befitted the seat of the most novel and brilliant exhibit, the Columbian Exposition. The ex-governor of the state of Illinois, William E. Cameron, described the palace as housing the magical achievements of Mr. Edison and his brother wizards, containing the names of the forefathers of the science above a formidable statue of Benjamin Franklin launching his kite at the main vestibule. Electricity Hall presented a fascinating potpourri of advanced technologies. Foremost among the exhibitors were the megalithic corporations, such as Westinghouse and GE from America, and the more modest-sized AEG from Germany.
Whereas AEG reproduced some of the AC equipment Brown and Dobrovolsky used in their epoch-making IO 8-mile Laufen to Frankfurt transmission, GE presented its own AC system.
Westinghouse, having won the bid to light the fair with the only bona fide patents, was in an odd situation. Legally, it should have been able to block the competitors from advertising pirated apparatus, but pragmatically, considering time limitations and other factors, such a tactical action was out of the question. In fact, in some ways, they owed AEG gratitude for pointing the way.
Their course was to make it clear that there was only one inventor,
and so they erected a 45-foot-high monument in the center aisle of Electricity Hall, which proclaimed the truth to the world. The testimonial read in big bold letters, Westinghouse Electric and Manufacturing CUC, Tesla Polyphase System. And with this method, from an annex of Machinery Hall, Westinghouse illuminated the entire World's Fair. Having manufactured 250,000 Sawyerman stopper lamps for the occasion, Westinghouse generated 3 times more electrical energy than was then being utilized in the entire city of Chicago. Not to be eclipsed, G constructed a scintillating 80-foot-high tower of light in the exact center of Electricity Hall.
It comprised 18,000 lamps running the full length of the pedestal, capped by a single enormous Edison light bulb ignited at the apex. Other features within Electricity Hall included, on the second floor, electrical gadgets to cure all ills, such as charged belts, electrical hairbrushes, and body invigorators, and on the main floor, displays by the most prominent inventors of the day.
Elihu Thomson, for instance, unleashed a high-frequency coil that created sparks 5 feet long. Alexander Graham Bell unveiled a telephone that could transmit voice via light beams, and Elisha Gray presented his teleorthography machine, a precursor of today's fax machine. For a few cents, it would reproduce a person's signature electronically at a distance.
Tom Edison presented his own cornucopia of gadgets, including the multiplex telegraph, the fantastic talking machine known as the phonograph, and his kinetoscope, which for the first time in a public forum displayed the varying label inventments of a human being in motion. Tesla also displayed vacuum tubes illuminated by means of wireless transmission, his rotating egg of Columbus, sheets of crackling light created by high-frequency discharges between two insulated plates, and other neon signs reading Westinghouse, and welcome electricians. These last are displays product at the effect of a modified lightning discharge, accompanied by a similar deafening noise.
This was probably one of the most novel attractions in a sensational way seen in the building, as the noise could be heard anywhere within Electricity Building, and the flash of the miniature lightning was very brilliant and startling. Tesla traveled to Chicago in August not only to visit the fair and present a week of demonstrations, but also to attend the International Electrical Congress that was held there for that month. At Electricity Hall, Professor Tesla announces he will send a current of 100,000 volts through his own body without injury to life, an experiment which seems all the more wonderful when we recall the fact that the currents made use of for executing murderers at Sing Sing, NAY, have never exceeded 2,000 volts. Mr. Tesla also shows a number of other interesting experiments, some of which are so marvelous as to be almost beyond description. On August 25th, Nikola Tesla spoke before 1,000 electrical engineers at the International Electrical Congress in Agriculture Hall. In attendance was a galaxy of notables, including Galileo Ferraris, Sir William Preece, Sylvanus Thompson, Elihu Thomson, and Honorary Chairman Hermann Ludwig von Helmholtz, whom Tesla also took on tour of his personal exhibit.
People crowded about the doors and clamored for admittance. The great majority of those who came with the expectation of seeing Tesla pass a current of 250,000 volts through his body. $10 was offered for a single seat, and offered in vain. Before the lecture, a Chicago reporter inquired of Professors William Preece and Sylvanus Thompson as to the use of the various equipment scattered about the hall, but they gazed in wonder and confessed they could not guess.
They simply lumped of the whole lot under the generic term of Tesla's animals. Presently, white-haired Elisha Gray was seen escorting Atul, gaunt young man, towards the platform. The young man smiled with pleasure, but modestly kept his eyes on the floor. His cheeks were hollow, his black eyes sunken, but sparking with animation. Intense and continuous application of his work has sapped his energy until his friends say he has almost reached the point of dissolution. A gentleman who dined with him a week ago says he could scarcely make himself heard across the table. He was so worn out. He has glassy black hair parted in the middle, a moustache heavy under his aquiline nose, but fading to a suggestion at the sides of his mouth. His ears are large and stand out from his head.
He wore a neat full-buttoned cutaway suit of brownish grey.
Gray said to arousing applause, "Interview the wizard of physics, Nikola Tesla. I have with great reluctance accepted these compliments, because I had no right to interrupt the flow of speech over chairman." Tesla began with characteristic humor.
Appearing somewhat like a resurrected cadaver, Tesla spoke to allay the fears of all those concerned for his frail health. A number of scientific men urged a group of electricians to deliver a lecture.
A great many promised that they would come, But when the program was sifted down, IWE is the only healthy man left, and so I managed to take some of my apparatus and give you a brief outline of some of my work. Tesla proceeded to display his new steam generators and mechanical oscillators, some of which were so compact that one could readily carry them in the crown of one's hat. He told the audience that his goals were multifaceted. Such a device could, among other things, be used to run motors with perfect synchrony or electric clocks.
He had also produced a continuous wave radio transmitter, although no one at the time understood the complete ramifications of the equipment.
Nevertheless, when the resonant frequency was reached, wireless lights would again illuminate, and in that way intelligence was wirelessly transmitted. One of Tesla's more unusual exhibits, which was similar to his egg of Columbus, was another ring which displayed not only the principles of the rotating magnetic field, but also his theory of planetary motion. In this experiment, one large and several small brass balls were usually employed. When the field was energized, all the balls would be set spinning, the large ones remaining in the center while the small ones revolved around it, like moons about a planet, gradually receding until they reached the outer guard and raced along the same. But the demonstration which most impressed the audiences was the simultaneous operation of numerous balls, pivoted discs and other devices placed in all sorts of positions and at considerable distances from the rotating field.
When the currents were turned on and the whole animated with motion, it presented an unforgettable spectacle.
Mr. Tesla had many vacuum bulbs in which small light metal discs were pivotally arranged on jewels, and these would spin anywhere in the hall when the iron ring was energized. Tesla returned to New York exhausted but exhilarated. End of Nikola Tesla, the Electric Sorcerer. Part 3. Thank you for watching.